This happened in April of 2013 in a neighborhood of Khan Younis. I'll say right away, I don't expect you to believe this. I would have laughed too until it happened to me. My name is Mohammed Muammar. I was 29 at the time. I lived with my parents and my brother, and we had just moved into a new house we built on a small plot of land. It was one of those cold, quiet months. We were excited. You know how it is. New house, new street. We met the neighbors, started to settle in. My brother and I stuck close with the other young men on the road. Life felt normal until the evening of that short, strange night. It began with a plan, a small night get-together at a neighbor's house. Luai, one of the guys, told me he'd be at the corner in front of our house right after Maghrib. He hadn't moved into his house yet. The house next to ours was still empty, a shell. I looked forward to it. So I went up to the roof after prayer, watching the street. The neighborhood was that familiar mix of silence and small noises, a dog somewhere, a radio in a distant home, the wind rustling the loose trash. A little while later, he came in at the end of the street, a good 50 meters away. I saw him walking toward the house, his laptop bag slung over one shoulder. He looked like he always did. I stepped down quickly to greet him. 10 meters, 10 steps, and I'd be there. When I reached the bottom of the house, he had vanished. Completely. No footprints. No sound. At first, I assumed he'd hidden to jump out and scare me. We did that to each other. I laughed. Thinking about how I'd surprise him with a stick I'd picked up to play my little trick. I called his name. Nothing. The street swallowed my voice. I went into his house. He wasn't there. I looked around the neighborhood. Nothing. I checked the nearby alleys. I walked the square. I was calm but puzzled. Then I called him. Hello? A voice answered, loud, static-laden, crowded with noise. Hey, Luai. I said, where are you? Oh, sorry, Mohammed, he said casually. I forgot. I'm at a family party tonight. I can't make it. Okay, congrats, I told him. We hung up. I stood there holding the phone, staring down the road. 10 meters, that's all. 10 seconds would have shown him. 10 seconds would have been enough for him to have been right there when I stepped out. He wasn't. I'm not someone who believes in demons or in things without explanation. But after that call, a strange thought passed through me. What if something had been watching me and wanted to play? I told myself nothing and went home. The next morning I told my mother. I expected her to laugh or to sigh, but she didn't. She told me a story that made my blood run cold. She said, 2 days earlier, she was standing with our neighbor behind her window, talking, when she heard the voice of her nephew in the street. She looked out and saw her sister, my aunt, walking by with her baby and little boy. The boy was walking and playing. When they reached the same distance from our home, about 10 meters, the boy vanished. My aunt walked straight into the plaster wall of the old house across the way, as if through a doorway. My mother saw it with her own eyes. She did not think she was dreaming. She told me she felt it, a passing jinn, just a traveler. That's what she called it. She warned me, don't try to confront them. Don't follow them into empty places. She said they like to appear as people we know. I didn't listen. I wanted answers. So later that day, at my mother's request, I went to the market to buy a few things. The market was close, barely a 3-minute walk, 250 meters tops. When I came back, I saw 2 men entering our street. They looked normal at first. I hurried to catch up. I got within 2 meters of them, and this is the part one still cannot explain. They were shadows walking, and their voices were silent. I could see their lips move. I could see the gestures of hands. But there was no sound, not even the faintest whisper. I took out my phone and switched on the flashlight. It was weak, but it still threw a little beam. I pointed it at them. Nothing. They didn't disappear. They did not react to the light. They kept walking as if the light wasn't there. I followed them, stubborn because I had to know. We passed our house. One of them turned right and walked into an empty fence lot full of barbed wire. The other walked left and, unbelievably, walked right into the plaster wall of the house next to Luai's. He didn't stumble. He moved through as if it were an open gate. At that exact moment, the electricity returned to the street. like the world flicked a switch back on. I looked down at the pavement. There were only my footprints. Only mine. I had followed shadows. They were Jinn. The next weeks were strange. We heard about small disappearances, odd moments people could not explain in our area. My mother kept seeing things at the window, a shape that would be there for a breath and gone the next. I stopped sleeping well. One evening, a week or so later, I went back to check the empty house next to Luai's. The front gate was open. Inside, it smelled stale, like an old room that hadn't been aired for months. I called out his name. No answer. I found nothing physical. No signs, no marks, no footprints except my own. But there was a feeling in the air, heavy and wrong, like the house was holding its breath. I took pictures. Even though I'd begun to distrust the camera, the flash showed me emptiness. But in the edge of one photograph, an indistinct shape looked back. After that, I stopped going out at night. I told my friends and some laughed. Others hushed me. My father told me to stop feeding my mind with fearful things. My mother prayed and insisted we keep windows shut. But the house is on that street. Life continued. We cooked. We argued. We laughed when the power returned. Then, one evening at about 11, something tapped at the kitchen window. It was measured, deliberate, like knuckles. I froze. The kitchen window is narrow. It looks out to the road. I got up slowly and walked over. When I looked at the glass, there were 5 prints, 5 finger marks pressed on the outside of the window. They were long and thin, too long to be human. The glass fogged where they touched. Warmth rose in small wisps like steam. They were warm. The generator faltered. The lights went out. Everything went dark except for the faint glow of an emergency bulb. I could feel my heart racing. I grabbed my camera without thinking. I fumbled to the door. The flash of the camera lit the yard in jerks. Each burst of light revealed a thin figure standing between the trees. Too tall, too narrow to be a man. Their limbs were like split shadows. Each flash showed them a little closer. Each flash made my mouth dry. Then the lights returned. I slammed the door and locked it. The rest of the night, I sat shaking and watched the street until morning. At sunrise, the sand in our street showed odd marks. Not footsteps, not something animal. Circular marks, like something had pressed to the ground and burned the dust away in perfect rings. I left that morning. I drove and drove until I found a place where people were around, and I stopped. I needed the safety of faces that breathed and argued and were undeniably human. A week later, I went back to check the images on my camera. Many were blown out by the flash. But the last picture, one I took without expecting anything, showed a blur of wall and night. And in the center of that blur, a tall, dark shape with a pale suggestion of a face, like a face through milk. I showed it to a few friends. They told me it was a trick of light. Maybe they're right. Maybe the camera made ghosts out of smudges. But I stopped trusting the camera after that. I stopped sleeping as I once did. And sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still hear the tapping in the distance. I still hear the soft, measured steps of visitors who should not be there. If you ever walk the streets of Khan Younis and you see someone you know, someone you expect, don't follow them. Don't get too close. Stand in the light. Look at the ground. If the footprints are only yours, step back. I call my story kind guests. They come in familiar shapes. They smile like neighbors, but they walk in silence. They pass through walls and fences like doors. They leave nothing behind but a cold, small ring on the earth where reality thinned for a moment. And every now and then, when the world is quiet enough, they come to the window and tap. So if you believe me or not, it doesn't change what I heard, what I saw, what I felt pressing at the glass that night. My name is Mohammed Muammar. That's my story. If the night in your street ever feels a little too friendly, lock your doors and listen for the taps.